You're blocking the real employees, Grandpa. Move your mop. The words cut through the marble lobby of Pinnacle Financial Tower like a blade. Harold Martinez, 67 years old with silver hair and weathered hands, steadied his cleaning cart as three executives in $1,000 suits pushed past him. Coffee splashed across his worn uniform. Security should screen these people better, Jessica Chen sneered to her colleagues, her voice carrying across the morning rush. This isn't a nursing home. Harold's fingers tightened around the mop handle. In his shirt pocket, a platinum card caught the light for just a moment, but nobody noticed. They never did. The executives laughed as they stepped into the elevator, leaving Harold standing alone with his bucket and their assumptions. Have you ever been dismissed as invisible, only to discover the person underestimating you held all the cards? 8:47 a.m. Pinnacle Financial Tower's marble lobby gleamed under morning light streaming through 40-foot windows. But what happened next would shatter more than just the peaceful atmosphere. Harold Martinez pushed his cart past clusters of executives clutching coffee and ambition. At 67, his weathered hands had cleaned these floors for exactly 48 hours. What nobody knew, what would soon change everything, was why. 10 minutes until the board meeting, Brad Morrison announced, straightening his Armani tie. The operations VP lived for these moments of manufactured importance. Jessica Chen scrolled through her tablet, reviewing projections that could make or break her career. At 34, she'd clawed her way to VP of Marketing through calculated cruelty disguised as corporate toughness. Her smile never reached her eyes. Richardson's going to love these Asia-Pacific numbers, she murmured to Kevin Walsh, whose Harvard law degree apparently hadn't included courses on basic humanity. Harold approached the executive elevator. His uniform bore the Pinnacle logo he'd personally designed during the company's early days. The irony wasn't lost on him. But then, Jessica looked up. Service elevators are in the back, old man. Her voice cut across conversations, drawing stares. These are for actual employees. Harold's response was gentle, measured. I need to clean the 47th floor before your meeting, ma'am. Our meeting? Jessica's laugh was ice cold. Who hired this fossil? 20 feet away, Jenny Walsh stopped mid-stride. The junior analyst had witnessed this pattern before. Management treating cleaning staff like furniture. She opened her phone, fingers flying across the screen. Live. Management bullying janitor in lobby. This is getting bad. She hit share on the company's Slack channel. Sir, I need to see identification, Jessica demanded, despite Harold's clearly visible employee badge. Harold reached for his wallet. As he did, something metallic caught the light. A watch that cost more than Jessica's car. But she was too busy performing for her audience to notice. The Patek Philippe Nautilus disappeared back under his sleeve. This could be fake, Jessica announced loudly. Security issues are serious in financial buildings. More employees gathered. Phones appeared. The digital documentation of Jessica's public humiliation began. Harold handed over his ID card. The photo showed the same patient eyes, though taken during a previous undercover rotation. The magnetic strip contained access codes to every floor in the building. Probably stolen, Brad snickered. Harold's jaw tightened, barely perceptible, but telling. He'd built this company from nothing, survived market crashes, created thousands of jobs. Yet here he stood, invisible to people whose paychecks bore his electronic signature. Listen, Grandpa, Jessica's voice rose another octave. I don't know what nursing home you escaped from, but this isn't adult daycare. Jenny's live stream now had 47 viewers. Comments flooded in. This is disgusting. Someone needs to report this. Jessica's showing her true colors. Outside, freelance journalist Marcus Rivera noticed the commotion through glass doors. His instincts screamed story. He raised his camera. The elevator chimed. Jessica stepped inside, then turned with theatrical disgust. Security! We have a confused gentleman causing disruptions. 2 guards approached, men Harold had personally hired after reviewing their military records. The irony cut deep as they failed to recognize their ultimate boss in work clothes. "Sir, service elevators are around the corner," the first guard said respectfully. "Of course," Harold replied. "I was trying to save time before the 9 o'clock board meeting." Jessica froze. "How do you know about the board meeting?" Kevin whispered to Brad, "That's confidential information." Harold pulled out his phone. The device was top-tier, pristine, unusual for a janitor's salary. His fingers moved with practiced efficiency, like someone managing complex operations daily. "Just sending a quick message," Harold said softly. Jessica's eyes narrowed. Something felt wrong. Janitors didn't carry $1,000 phones. They didn't know about confidential meetings. They certainly didn't speak with the quiet confidence she heard in Harold's voice. But pride overrode instinct. "Security," she called louder. "Please escort this confused gentleman to the appropriate area. Some people don't understand workplace hierarchy." Jenny's live stream hit 93 viewers. The video was spreading beyond Pinnacle, shared to personal social media accounts. #toxic culture began trending in local business circles. Harold finished typing and looked up. His brown eyes held something Jessica couldn't quite identify. Not anger, not fear, but something deeper. Something that made her stomach flutter with unease. "Ms. Chen," Harold said calmly, "I believe you have a presentation in 4 minutes. You might want to rehearse those Asia-Pacific projections once more." The lobby fell silent. Even the elevator stopped humming. Jessica's finger hovered over the door close button. Her mind raced. How did he know her name? How did he know about her presentation? How did a janitor possess such detailed knowledge of confidential corporate schedules? "What did you say?" she whispered. Harold's phone buzzed. A text message appeared on the screen, visible just long enough for Jessica to catch 2 words. "Board ready." The elevator doors began closing. Jessica jabbed frantically at the button to stop them, but momentum carried her upward toward a meeting that would expose more than quarterly numbers. Down in the lobby, Harold set down his mop for the last time. What happened next would rewrite everything these executives thought they knew about power, respect, and the true meaning of workplace hierarchy. But first, they needed to learn one simple truth. Sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one everyone refuses to see. Segment 3. Tension escalates. 1-98-1300 words. 9:02 a.m. The lobby became a powder keg waiting to explode. Jenny's live stream hit 200 viewers as notifications pinged across office floors. What started as routine workplace cruelty was morphing into something that would destroy careers and create legends. But the most dangerous part? Nobody knew it yet. Harold stood motionless near the elevators, his cleaning cart forgotten. Something had shifted in his posture, subtle but unmistakable, like a lion remembering it owned the jungle. "Sir," the first security guard repeated, sweat beading on his forehead. "You really need to use the service elevator." "In a moment," Harold replied. His voice carried new authority that made the guard step back. "I'm expecting a call." On the 47th floor, Jessica burst from the elevator like a woman fleeing demons. Her designer heels clicked frantically against marble as panic clawed at her chest. How did he know her name? How did a janitor know about confidential presentations? "Jessica!" Brad called, jogging to catch up. "What happened down there? You look terrified." "That janitor!" Jessica gasped, her voice shaking. "There's something wrong. Something very wrong." Kevin Walsh emerged from the elevator, adjusting his tie with trembling fingers. "What do you mean?" "He knew things. Confidential things. Janitors don't have access to that information." Jessica's mind raced through impossible possibilities. Unless... The 3 executives stood frozen in the hallway, their worst fears beginning to crystallize. Back in the lobby, Harold's phone rang. The sound sliced through mounting tension like a blade. "Harold Martinez speaking," he answered with crisp professionalism that made nearby employees stop and stare. Jenny's live stream captured every word. "Yes, Margaret, the assessment is proceeding as planned. No, we won't need to postpone the board meeting." 200 viewers became 400 in seconds. Comments exploded. Did he say Martinez? Assessment? What assessment? This is getting weird. Someone needs to investigate this. Marcus Rivera, the freelance journalist outside, felt his instincts screaming. 15 years covering corporate scandals had taught him to recognize the moment when everything changed. He pulled out his laptop, fingers flying over keys. Harold Martinez, Pinnacle Financial. The search results made his blood run cold. Forbes covers, SEC filings, board announcements, photos of a man who looked exactly like the janitor inside. But that was impossible, wasn't it? Rivera started live streaming to his professional network, his caption reading, "Something massive happening at Pinnacle Financial. Stay tuned." Inside the building, more employees abandoned their morning routines. The lobby filled with curious faces, phones raised like weapons documenting digital warfare. Harold ended his call and surveyed the crowd. His gaze swept across familiar faces, people whose hiring decisions he'd personally approved, whose promotions he'd signed off on, whose children's scholarships he'd funded. None recognized him. The invisibility of service workers was complete. "Excuse me," Harold called to Jenny Walsh, who was still filming with shaking hands. "Could you approach for a moment?" Jenny walked forward cautiously, her viewer count exploding past 600. Her finger hovered over the stop button, but something kept her recording. "What's your name?" Harold asked with gentle authority. "Jenny Walsh, junior analyst in market research." Harold's smile was warm, genuine, the first real emotion anyone had seen from him. "Your work on the European expansion reports has been exceptional, particularly your insights about sustainable investing trends in the Scandinavian markets." Jenny's face drained of color. Those reports were classified, accessible only to senior management and the executive board. "How do you know about those?" she whispered. Before Harold could answer, the elevator chimed with ominous finality. Jessica, Brad, and Kevin emerged, moving like people walking toward their execution. Jessica clutched her tablet with white knuckles, her Google search results glowing like evidence of her worst nightmare. The lobby fell silent except for the soft ding of elevators and the distant hum of a city that had no idea what was unfolding inside this glass tower. Jessica approached Harold with trembling steps. Her hands shook as she held up her tablet, displaying search results that defied belief. But she couldn't bring herself to speak the name, couldn't voice the impossible truth. "Go ahead, Ms. Chen," Harold said quietly. "Ask the question you're afraid to ask." Jenny's live stream viewer count hit 800. The comments section became a waterfall of speculation and shock. What's on that tablet? Jessica looks like she's seen a ghost. This is better than any TV drama. Someone figure out who this janitor really is? Harold reached into his pocket and pulled out something that made Jessica's tablet clatter to the floor. A business card. Simple white cardstock with elegant black lettering. Harold Martinez, Chief Executive Officer, Pinnacle Financial Holdings. The lobby erupted in gasps and whispers. Phones appeared from every corner as employees frantically tried to process what they were witnessing. But Harold held up his hand, and somehow, impossibly, everyone fell silent. "Ms. Chen," he said with devastating calm, "before we continue, there's something else you should know." Jessica could barely breathe. "What?" Harold's eyes held depths of power she'd never imagined. "This isn't the first time I've done this. And you're not the first executive I've had to educate about respect." The elevator doors opened again. This time, a woman in an expensive suit emerged, flanked by two men carrying briefcases. "Mr. Martinez!" the woman called across the lobby. "Legal and HR are ready when you are." Harold nodded, then looked back at Jessica with something that might have been pity. "Shall we go upstairs, Ms. Chen? I believe you have a presentation to give, and I have some very important decisions to make about your future." The elevator waited like an open mouth, ready to swallow Jessica's career whole. But the most terrifying part was still coming. Because Harold Martinez wasn't just the CEO of Pinnacle Financial. He was about to become the architect of the most expensive lesson in workplace respect that corporate America had ever witnessed. The executive elevator rose through 47 floors in suffocating silence. Jessica, Brad, and Kevin pressed against the walls like prey while Harold occupied the center, no longer a janitor, but a predator whose true nature was about to devour their careers. Jenny's live stream had exploded to 1,500 viewers. The business card revelation triggered a social media wildfire spreading into national news feeds. Her hands shook as she whispered to her phone, "I'm literally in an elevator with the billionaire CEO who just destroyed 3 executives. This is insane." But the most devastating part was still coming. Harold turned to face the 3 people who'd humiliated him 30 minutes earlier. "Before we reach the boardroom, let me share something that will redefine your understanding of consequence." Jessica's voice cracked. "What?" 3 years ago, I implemented quarterly undercover assessments. Security guard, food service, maintenance, cleaning staff. Do you know what I discovered? The elevator climbed past floor 30. Harold's calm voice carried the weight of judicial execution. "I learned that power doesn't corrupt people, Ms. Chen. It reveals them. And what you revealed today will destroy more than your careers." Brad Morrison's voice shook. "Mr. Martinez, we didn't know." "Exactly the problem, Mr. Morrison. You didn't know because you chose blindness. You treated me as furniture because my uniform gave you permission to ignore my humanity." Harold pulled out his phone, opened a recording app. "For 48 hours, I documented everything. Every interaction, every sneer, every moment of casual cruelty." He pressed play. Jessica's voice filled the elevator. "This isn't a nursing home. Who hired this fossil? Some people don't understand workplace hierarchy." The blood drained from Kevin's face. "You recorded us?" "New York Labor Law Section 201D permits recording workplace interactions in common areas. Our Employee Handbook, Section 12, Subsection 4, explicitly authorizes management surveillance for cultural assessment purposes." His precise legal knowledge sent terror through their hearts. This wasn't lucky revenge. This was calculated destruction. "But here's what will haunt you," Harold continued as they passed floor 40. "Your behavior wasn't isolated. It was systematic. And I have documentation going back 18 months. The elevator stopped. Floor 47. The doors opened to reveal a hallway of floor-to-ceiling windows offering breathtaking city views. But the real power lay behind mahogany doors marked Conference Room A. "After you," Harold said, gesturing for Jessica to exit first into her professional execution. The boardroom was a cathedral of corporate power. A 40-foot table dominated the space, surrounded by leather chairs that had hosted decisions affecting billions and thousands of lives. 6 people waited, their expressions ranging from anticipation to barely contained glee. Margaret Stevens, Chief Operating Officer, stood at the table's head. At 52, she'd worked with Harold for 15 years, implementing his ethical leadership vision. Her smile could have cut glass. "Harold," she said warmly, "how did our experiment proceed?" "Beyond expectations," Harold replied, removing his janitor's shirt to reveal a crisp white dress shirt. "And worse than nightmares." Dr. James Wright activated wall-mounted screens. "We've monitored social media. The story's gone viral. Toxic culture is trending nationally." Sarah Martinez, Harold's daughter and CFO, looked up from her laptop. 27,000 mentions in 90 minutes. The videos spread across LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit. Jessica found her voice. This was planned? This was a trap? Harold straightened his tie, revealing the Patek Philippe watch that had caught lobby light. Ms. Chen, this wasn't a trap. This was performance evaluation, and you failed catastrophically. Robert Kim, Chief Legal Officer, opened thick folders. Company Policy 4.7.3. Discrimination based on age, appearance, or job function constitutes immediate termination grounds. We didn't discriminate, Brad protested. We just what? Margaret interrupted. Called a 67-year-old man a fossil? Suggested nursing home placement? Demanded security removal for existing in your presence? Harold took his usual seat, boardroom head position. Let me show you exactly what your behavior cost. Wall screens filled with data that stopped Jessica's heart. Social media impressions. 1.2 million negative mentions. Stock price, down. 3.7% in pre-market trading. Employee confidence, 73% negative leadership response. Legal liability, $18.4 million potential discrimination exposure. Competitor advantage, 15% talent poaching increase. Your department, Ms. Chen leads company turnover, 34% annually versus 12% average cost calculation. Sarah displayed projections. Recruitment, training, productivity loss in Jessica's division, $2.8 million quarterly. Annual impact, $11.2 million. Kevin leaned forward desperately. Mr. Martinez, we can fix this misunderstanding. Fix what, Mr. Walsh? 15 HR complaints against your department this quarter? Company reputation you've systematically poisoned? Dr. Wright consulted notes. Internal surveys. Jessica's division rates 2.1, 10 job satisfaction. Company average, 7.8 to 10. Harold walked to floor-to-ceiling windows. 47 floors below, the city pulsed. Millions working prestigious and humble jobs, all deserving dignity. 43 years ago, I built this company from a two-person accounting firm. I cleaned offices nights to pay for business school. I never forgot that experience. Every job has value. He turned back to face three executives whose worlds were collapsing. But you forgot. You forgot that people cleaning offices, guarding buildings, serving food are humans with families, dreams, dignity. You forgot respect isn't earned by title, it's given by character. Jessica attempted desperation. Sir, we can change. We can improve. Harold's expression softened slightly. People can change, Ms. Chen. But change requires accountability. Accountability demands consequences. Margaret placed 3 manila folders on the table. You have options. Mr. Kim will explain. Robert opened folder 1. Immediate termination for cause. Stock option forfeiture, pension loss, no severance. Public disclosure of dismissal reasons. Folder 2. Resignation with basic severance and non-disclosure agreements. No wrongdoing admission, no future references. Folder 3. Public apology, voluntary demotion to entry-level positions, 6-month dignity training. Salaries match new roles. Harold returned to his seat. Decision deadline, 5 p.m. today. Choose wisely. Jessica's mind reeled. The video of her humiliating the janitor CEO was spreading globally. Her reputation was already destroyed. There's a fourth option, Harold said quietly. One teaching what you put me through. Silence gripped the room. Work as cleaning staff, security, or food service for 30 days. Same company, different perspective. Learn invisibility. Discover whether you possess character to treat people with dignity when it doesn't seem to matter. Harold stood, walking toward the door. Consider it. All of you. Today isn't about your careers. It's about choosing who you become. The most powerful man in the building left 3 shattered executives contemplating their arrogance's ruins. Outside, the story was spreading. Justice, respect, and the moment corporate America's culture began changing forever. But Harold wasn't finished. The real lesson was just beginning. Because what happened next would rewrite every executive handbook in the country. 2 hours later, Conference Room A had transformed into a war room. Wall screens displayed real-time data streams that painted a devastating picture of corporate crisis management in the digital age. Stock price is down 4.2%, Sarah Martinez announced, her fingers flying across her laptop. Trading volume is triple normal. Financial blogs are calling it the dignity crisis. Margaret Stevens paced behind the conference table, her phone pressed to her ear. Yes, I understand Bloomberg wants a statement. No, Mr. Martinez will not be giving interviews today. Harold sat calmly at the table's head, reviewing termination documents with the precision of a surgeon. Each page represented careers, families, futures, all hanging in the balance of decisions made in the next few hours. Dr. Wright looked up from his tablet. HR is fielding calls from every major news outlet. 60 Minutes wants to do a feature. Harvard Business School is requesting case study access. But the real drama was unfolding outside the boardroom. Jessica Chen sat in her corner office, staring at her computer screen with the hollow expression of someone watching their world collapse in real time. Her LinkedIn profile showed 847 connection requests, mostly from journalists and employment lawyers. Her phone buzzed constantly. Text messages from colleagues ranged from sympathy to schadenfreude. Saw the video. Are you okay? Holy shit, Jessica, what were you thinking? This is why I never trusted you. Call me. We need to talk about damage control. Down the hall, Brad Morrison and Kevin Walsh huddled in Kevin's office like conspirators planning a coup that had already failed. We need lawyers, Kevin whispered, despite being alone. Good ones. This could ruin us permanently. Brad scrolled through news articles on his phone. Look at this headline. Executive calls CEO a fossil, learns expensive lesson about respect. We're becoming a cautionary tale. The comments section is brutal, Kevin added. People are calling for our heads. Some are suggesting boycotts of Pinnacle Financial. But Kevin was wrong about one thing. People weren't just calling for their heads. They were demanding systemic change. Back in the war room, Harold reviewed social media analytics with the focus of a general studying battlefield reports. Twitter engagement is off the charts, Sarah reported. But here's the interesting part. 68% of comments are positive toward our company. People are praising your leadership. Margaret ended her call and turned to Harold. That was the mayor's office. They want to discuss implementing dignity training programs across all city contractors. Harold nodded approvingly. What about employee response? Dr. Wright consulted his tablet. Internal surveys show 84% approval for your actions. Morale in Jessica's division has actually improved since this morning. People are coming forward with stories they've been afraid to share. Legal implications? Harold asked Robert Kim. Surprisingly minimal, Robert replied. Your documentation is thorough. The recordings are legally obtained. Company policy violations are clear-cut. If anything, we're protected against wrongful termination lawsuits. Harold stood and walked to the windows. The city sprawled below, millions of workers in offices, restaurants, shops, and services, each person deserving dignity regardless of their role. The question isn't legal, Harold said quietly. It's cultural. How do we ensure this never happens again? Sarah pulled up a presentation she'd been working on. I've been analyzing similar companies. Organizations with strong dignity cultures show 23% higher employee retention, 31% better customer satisfaction, and 15% higher profitability. Implementation timeline? Margaret asked. I want changes effective immediately, Harold replied. New hiring protocols, mandatory respect training for all management levels, and anonymous reporting systems with real consequences. Dr. T. Wright opened his laptop. I've drafted policy changes based on today's events. Dignity officers for each division, quarterly culture assessments, and executive compensation tied to employee satisfaction scores. Harold turned back to the table. What about the 3 executives? Robert Kim consulted his notes. Jessica Chen submitted her resignation an hour ago. She chose option 2, basic severance with an NDA. Her letter cited irreconcilable differences with company culture. Brad Morrison and Kevin Walsh? Still deciding. Morrison's attorney called asking about option 3, demotion and training. Walsh seems inclined toward resignation. Harold nodded. Their choice. But whatever they decide, the message is clear. Respect isn't negotiable. Margaret's phone buzzed with another call. CNN wants to interview you about creating a dignity revolution in corporate America. Harold smiled, the first genuine smile anyone had seen from him all day. Schedule it, but not as CEO defending his actions, as someone who believes every worker deserves respect. Sarah looked up from her laptop. The video has hit 2 million views across platforms. #Dignity Matters is trending globally. Companies are already announcing policy reviews. Media response summary? Harold asked. Dr. Wright scrolled through news feeds. Wall Street Journal calls it a masterclass in authentic leadership. Harvard Business Review wants to publish your methodology. Forbes is calling you CEO of the Year for showing real courage. But Harold's attention was drawn to a different metric on the wall screen. Employee satisfaction scores in real time, he noted. Up 18% company-wide since this morning. Margaret followed his gaze. People feel heard. They feel protected. Many are sharing stories of disrespect they've witnessed but never reported. That's the real victory, Harold said. Not humiliating 3 executives, but creating an environment where everyone feels valued. Robert Kim's phone rang. He answered, listened briefly, then looked up with surprise. That was Brad Morrison. He wants to take option 4, 30 days as support staff. He says he needs to understand what he's been missing. Harold raised an eyebrow. Interesting choice. What about Walsh? Still deciding, but his assistant just called HR asking about resignation procedures. Harold returned to his seat. Whatever they choose, the precedent is set. Respect is our foundation, not our aspiration. Sarah pulled up financial projections. Based on similar cultural transformations, we're looking at potential revenue increases of 12 to 18% over the next 2 years, plus reduced legal liability, lower turnover costs, and improved reputation, Margaret added. Harold stood again. Schedule all hands meetings for every division. I want to address the entire company personally, not as CEO imposing new rules, but as someone who's worked every job in this building. Dr. Wright made notes. Timeline for company-wide implementation? Immediate. Every manager gets dignity training within 30 days. Every employee gets anonymous reporting access within a week. Every division gets measured on respect metrics within a month. Margaret smiled. You realize you've just created the most comprehensive workplace dignity program in corporate America? Harold walked toward the door. Good. Because what happened today wasn't about 3 executives. It was about a culture that allows people to become invisible. He paused at the threshold. Real power isn't making people fear you. It's making them feel valued. Today, we reminded everyone in this building and everyone watching that dignity isn't earned by position. It's given by character. The most powerful man in corporate America left to personally thank every janitor, security guard, and food service worker in the building. Because the revolution wasn't happening in boardrooms. It was happening one conversation, one interaction, one moment of respect at a time. 6 months later, the transformation was undeniable. Pinnacle Financial Tower had become a pilgrimage site for corporate leaders worldwide. The marble lobby where Harold once pushed a cleaning cart now hosted delegations from Fortune 500 companies studying what business schools were calling the Martinez model. Jenny Walsh, promoted to Chief Culture Officer after her live stream sparked global conversation, stood near the same elevators where everything began. Her role now involved implementing dignity protocols that other companies paid millions to license. Employee satisfaction is up 67%, she reported to a visiting delegation from Toyota. Turnover dropped from company-high 34% to industry-leading 8%. Revenue increased 22% as word-of-mouth marketing exploded. The numbers told a story of systemic transformation. But the real changes were human. Maria Santos, the night janitor who'd worked invisibly for 12 years, now served on the Employee Dignity Council, a rotating committee that advised executive decisions. Her insights about workflow efficiency had saved the company $847,000 annually. Mr. Martinez changed how we see ourselves, Maria explained to a Harvard Business School documentary crew. When the CEO treats you with respect, everyone else follows. I'm not invisible anymore. Brad Morrison, who'd chosen the humbling path of 30 days in food service, emerged as an unlikely champion of workplace reform. His experience serving coffee to former colleagues had fundamentally rewired his understanding of hierarchy. I learned that titles don't make you important, Brad said during his readmission interview. Character does. Serving people food taught me that service isn't beneath anyone. It's the foundation of everything. He'd been promoted to Director of Cultural Integration, designing programs that other companies now studied and replicated. Kevin Walsh, meanwhile, had taken a different path. His resignation led to a position at a nonprofit focused on workplace dignity advocacy. His inside knowledge of corporate discrimination helped draft legislation pending in 12 states. Jessica Chen's trajectory proved most surprising. After months of unemployment and public shame, she'd found redemption in an unexpected place, teaching business ethics at a community college. Her first-hand experience with the consequences of toxic leadership made her an powerful educator. I was that executive everyone hates, she told her students honestly. I treated people as disposable. The most expensive lesson of my life taught me that respect costs nothing, but means everything. Her classes were consistently overbooked. Students came to learn from someone who'd lived the consequences of poor character and emerged determined to do better. Harold's methodology spread beyond Pinnacle Financial like ripples in still water. The undercover dignity assessment became standard practice across industries. CEOs worldwide spent weeks working frontline positions, documenting cultural problems, and implementing systemic solutions. The economic impact was staggering. Companies implementing dignity protocols showed average productivity increases of 19%, customer satisfaction improvements of 28%, and employee retention gains exceeding 40%. But Harold measured success differently. Walk through any office building in America today, he told a TED Talk audience that would eventually reach 15 million viewers. Notice how executives greet cleaning staff, security guards, food service workers. You'll see the difference. The data supported his observation. Independent surveys showed measurable improvements in cross-hierarchical workplace interactions across multiple industries. The phrase Martinez effect entered business lexicon, describing positive cultural change driven from executive leadership. Pinnacle Financial's stock price had recovered and soared 43% above pre-incident levels. But more importantly, the company's Glassdoor rating improved from 2.8 to 4.7 stars. Employee testimonials painted pictures of transformed workplace culture. I've never worked somewhere that actually values every person. Management treats everyone with genuine respect. This is what corporate culture should be everywhere. The technology solutions proved equally revolutionary. The anonymous reporting app Harold commissioned became industry standard, licensed to over 2,000 companies. Real-time culture monitoring helped organizations identify and address problems before they escalated. Legislative impact followed business transformation. The Workplace Dignity Act, inspired by Harold's documentation of systematic discrimination, passed in 7 states and was pending federal consideration. It required companies to implement anonymous reporting systems and tie executive compensation to employee satisfaction metrics. International adoption accelerated change globally. European corporations, Japanese conglomerates, and multinational organizations worldwide implemented dignity protocols. Business schools added mandatory courses on respectful leadership. Harold's personal mission expanded beyond corporate reform. The Dignity at Work Foundation, funded by speaking fees and book royalties, provided free training to small businesses and nonprofits. Over 50,000 organizations had participated in their programs. The foundation's research revealed touching insights about workplace respect. Employees who felt valued showed decreased stress-related illness, improved family relationships, and higher community engagement. Dignity at work created dignity everywhere. Harold still conducted quarterly undercover assessments, but now they revealed positive stories. Executives who remembered their humanity. Managers who protected rather than exploited vulnerability. Cultures where respect flowed naturally between all levels. The revolution had succeeded beyond Harold's wildest expectations, not through force or mandate, but through the simple recognition that every person deserves dignity. 2 years later, Harold Martinez stood in the same marble lobby where his journey began. But everything had changed. Where once executives had dismissed a janitor, now leaders from across the globe came to study authentic leadership. The black stories of workplace discrimination had transformed into touching stories of human dignity triumphant. Jenny Walsh, now keynote speaking at conferences worldwide, often reflected on that morning. "I was just filming what I thought was typical corporate toxicity. I had no idea I was documenting the moment that would change everything." Her live stream, archived and studied in business schools, had become required viewing for leadership courses. The comments section, once filled with outrage, now overflowed with testimonials from people whose workplaces had transformed. The three executives' paths revealed the power of choice and redemption. Brad Morrison's transformation from privileged VP to dignity champion inspired autobiographical bestseller 30 Days of Humility. His speaking tours helped thousands of executives understand that true leadership meant serving others, not ruling them. Kevin Walsh's nonprofit work resulted in landmark legislation protecting workplace dignity. His legal expertise, combined with lived experience of consequence, created frameworks that protected millions of workers from discrimination. Jessica Chen's teaching career flourished as she became a powerful voice for authentic accountability. Her students, many from underrepresented backgrounds, learned leadership principles grounded in respect rather than dominance. Harold's impact extended far beyond corporate America. The Martinez model influenced education, healthcare, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations. Real-life stories emerged daily of cultures transformed by leaders who understood that character trumped title. The numbers told an incredible story. Over 10,000 companies had implemented dignity protocols. Employee satisfaction rates increased globally. Workplace discrimination complaints dropped 23% in participating organizations. The economic impact exceeded $2.3 billion in improved productivity and reduced turnover costs. But Harold's proudest achievement remained personal. Maria Santos, the once invisible night janitor, had earned her MBA through the company scholarship program Harold expanded. She now served as Regional Director of Cultural Development, teaching dignity principles across multiple industries. "Mr. Martinez didn't just change our company," Maria often said. "He changed how America treats its workers." The lobby's marble floors still gleamed under morning light, but now they reflected something different. A workplace where every person mattered, where respect flowed freely between all levels, where dignity defined culture rather than hierarchy. Harold's final lesson was perhaps his most powerful. Transformation begins with a single choice to see others as fully human, regardless of their role or position. Have you witnessed workplace discrimination? Share your story in the comments below. Your voice matters, and real change starts when we stop staying silent about injustice. If this story resonated with you, subscribe for more tales of ordinary people creating extraordinary change through quiet courage and authentic leadership. Tag someone who needs to see this. Sometimes the most powerful person in any organization is the one everyone underestimates. Remember, respect isn't earned by position. It's given by character. How will you choose to lead today?